Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 193 of the Massenomics Podcast. We are the lifting podcast about nothing. Before we get rolling here, we'll hear a little bit from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by Lifting Large. Lifting Large is your one-stop online shop for powerlifters, strongmen, Highland Games athletes, CrossFit athletes, and anyone that lifts iron. Visit liftinglarge.com today. There's free shipping on any orders over $60, and 99% of those orders are shipped the same day that they are placed. Today's episode is also brought to you by Spud Inc. The goal of Spud Inc. straps is to make products that support sports performance and help everyone achieve their training goals. They make products that last forever, won't bust your budget, and most importantly, leave no doubt about success when everything is on the line. Check them out online at spud-inc-straps.com. This episode is also brought to you by Hybrid Performance Method. They're your one-stop shop for all things fitness and online coaching. Whether your goals are training related, nutrition and body composition related, or both, Hybrid has a program for you. With dedicated and experienced coaches in each strength and fitness discipline, you can rest assured that you're in the best hands possible. Use code MASS in all caps for 5% off any training or nutrition memberships for the life of your membership. Visit hybridperformancemethod.com. Those are our sponsors today. We'll hear a little bit more from them about mid-show from Tommy. But before we get to mid-show, we got to go through beginning show.
First show.
My name's Tanner.
And my name is Tommy.
There's Tommy. Last week, we set a new record, a new PR record length episode. Can we break it again?
We're kind of on a hot streak. Should we just keep breaking PRs?
Yeah, we'll record for the first 2-hour show tonight.
Maybe it'll be the one.
We do have so many things in our docket.
Again, I think we could break it pretty easy tonight if we wanted to. It's going to be more of a sleep thing at this point,
Yes.
These podcasts that don't get done till like 10:30, that just really pushes me to my limit.
That pushes me to beyond my limit, actually, like to where put into an uncomfortable zone. Mm-hmm. Then you have to still wind down from a podcast.
Oh, you do? That's 100%. I get done here and it's not like, oh, I'm going to go right to bed. It's like, nah, I got to like sit and just kind of like not talk and not think for like at least 10 or 15 minutes.
Well, this does require like the neurons inside the brain are firing pretty hard when you're doing a podcast. Normally at 10 at night, I'm not sitting here at home having a conversation and being
an
like
engaging conversation with the family.
Yes, let me sit upright and stare into extremely bright lights. That's another thing, actually. Like as far as sleep's concerned,
these are probably about as worse as bad as you can do. Yeah. I guess they're not strobing, so we have that in our favor.
But this is not helping the old circadian rhythm.
No, it's not at all. Huh? Now I know I just sleep terrible on podcast nights, Tanner.
That's why.
But we do it all for the listeners.
We do have a what's in the can, and this time I brought my own cans all the way imported from my house.
Imported.
So you don't look at the can because you're going to be the guesser today.
Yep, I know how these rules go.
And
Tanner, I practically wrote the rules for this game.
You literally wrote the rules for this game. And also I brought my own koozies. You're probably familiar with the koozies.
Yep.
Instead of our usual deadlifter koozies that we use on set here, this week we have a special cameo appearance by our lift koozies.
Even better. Changing the koozie up.
I've never had this before.
What? Oh,
I'll tell you that.
What could it be?
That doesn't tell you much, but.
Okay, so right away I felt like in the smell I got a hint of.
When I cracked it, I could smell it.
So what I wanted to say immediately is it almost. I got a berry flavor of some kind right away, and I wanted to say almost grape right away, and then I tasted it and I did a little something more to it, and then I thought it kind of reminds me of a blueberry muffin even. Not like the bread part, but like the fruit part of it.
Right.
I'm really thinking right now. I think I'm going to go like blueberry.
That's a very good guess. It's not technically correct, but I mean, you could be maybe awarded points.
Berry,
It's just called Berry. It's a little more
I'm
too
actually
ambiguous.
Shocked I've never.
Yeah.
You know what I've realized though is I always just lately I've been going to the same grocery store and they only carry like 6 flavors of LaCroix, and those are the 6 that I always get. So my horizons have not been broadened in quite a while.
Yeah. So this is just straight up berry. Maybe blueberry's the primary berry in berry.
I like it. I'm a fan.
I've never had it before either, but I could smell it when I cracked it. Like I could smell it more than I typically could.
Yeah, really hit you in the face.
I don't know if I would have been able to guess it, to tell you the truth. I'm not very good at this game, and if I try to be like when you know what it is,
when you know what
it's like,
anything
oh
is.
yeah, it's berry, you dumbass. Of course it tastes like berry, but if I really thought about this and just take a taste and try and decide, it is. I still think this might be one of our hardest segments that we have on the show.
Berry. I do recommend Berry.
The LaCroixs.
I would give that a 4 JD Power and Associates.
Oh yeah, we kind
of forget about that part just because you get so wrapped up in the flavor.
Yeah,
you forget to put a rating on it.
So
but
you give this 4 JD Power and Associates?
I think I would.
Trophies. This is, I'll be honest, this isn't my favorite. I think lemon and lime were both better, and pamplemousse is better. But I would maybe give this 3.5 JD Power. Yeah, it's still good. I like it, but
I'm kind of a berry guy. Actually, I'm not really much of a fruit guy at all. But as far as fruit flavorings go, berry is one of the better fruit flavorings.
As far as fruit goes, berries are some of my favorite fruits.
Yeah.
Every morning I either have blueberries or strawberries or raspberries. One of those 3.
My wife and I are really good at buying them and then throwing them in the garbage in 2 weeks.
This is the thing. Sometimes, like especially during certain times of the year, now is not a great time of the year for fruit. And sometimes we'll buy strawberries and throw half of them away 3 days later because they just
It's that quick.
are shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to assume when they're on their way to the upper Midwest going through negative 20-degree weather that they just, it takes too long, and that's just not ideal transportation for a...
We have had a bit of a cold snap here, too.
we have, actually. It has been cold lately.
It's kind of doing that thing where it's not just cold, where it's like extremely uncomfortably cold when you go outside and you're like, oh,
yeah, it makes you just like,
that's hurting again.
It makes
Why
you
is it hurting again?
Yep. Brings you back in a hurry.
When I start my car 15 minutes before I leave and get in, and it still has that crisp feeling where you're like,
and it's still kind of
things
doing
could
that
snap if
noise a little bit, just because it hasn't got moving yet.
Yep. And where you like touch the gear shifter, you hope it's not just gonna snap clean off, like just like it's dry,
we had a good
cryogenically
run,
frozen.
Speaking of cryogenically frozen, Austin Powers was on TV last week.
Oh,
and we talked about Austin Powers a couple of weeks ago, but this was The Spy Who Shagged Me, and I had not seen The Spy Who Shagged Me in quite a while. God, you just forget how funny those are.
I don't know if it was a podcast review or where we saw it, or maybe as a direct message, and maybe you didn't see.
Yeah, where someone's like, "Oh, I really like Austin Powers."
It was like the best one you've done in a long time. Because I really loved the Austin Powers rant that you guys went on.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah,
and again, I just cannot picture that movie being made nowadays. It just seems so not like people would be okay with it.
I agree.
But it's funny stuff. Funny stuff.
It is good. What about our Jefferson Deadlift competition that's rolling as we speak?
Yes, so that is the first thing that people need to know about ASAP. If you're listening to this, you still have ASAP Ferg. You still have. Do you know what the ASAP in that situation stands for? Tanner, you're not much of a. You're not much of a.
I do not know. I barely knew what. I just
because I know you're a big hip hop guy. So.
Sometimes I say things. Words that I know that there's something, but not even 100% sure.
Well, do you know there's like a whole like
ASAP Ferg is?
Do you know there's like a whole ASAP like gang? There's like ASAP Rocky, ASAP Ferg, ASAP. Okay. I can't even think of the other ones off the top of my head, just because it seems like they're not quite as relevant now as they used to be. But I believe it's always strive and prosper, I think is what it is.
Oh, see, I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's like a whole. There's like the ASAP. I don't know if they refer to themselves as the ASAP gang or the ASAP mob, but that's where it comes from.
Nope.
Fun fact for you, Tanner.
That is definitely news to me.
Well, now that we got that figured out, yes, Jefferson Deadlift. So if you're listening to this, you have about 1 week still
Yeah.
to put together
That's got to be right.
Banging Jefferson deadlift. And what we got going on, we hinted at this last week. We want to see some awesome Jefferson deadlifts.
And we have already seen some pretty...
Some people have already raised the bar, you could say, literally and figuratively.
Like, as we're sitting here now, people are still submitting Jefferson deadlift attempts. So.
And what we got going on is it is a contest where we just want to see the best Jefferson deadlifts you got. And to enter the contest, you simply record yourself doing a Jefferson deadlift.
Of some sort.
You tag at Massenomics. We're talking Instagram here. You tag at Massenomics. And you hashtag Jefferson deadlift. And
that's it.
That's it. And best doesn't mean heaviest. I mean, it can mean heaviest. If you're going to do a 1,000-pound Jefferson deadlift.
Well, if someone's going to do a really cool heavy one, or you could very well be a winner. But
we've had several submissions that are not crossing the 4-plate barrier, and
are still
they
very
are
good.
They are front runners at the moment. So,
and we're going to pick 10 winners.
Yeah, and we're picking 10. So there's enough for everyone if they want to. For anyone that tries and puts some effort in, there's a good chance you will be rewarded.
We'll probably pick a diverse selection of winners. So maybe the heaviest one will be picked. That could be your way of winning. Mm-hmm. Maybe the funniest will be picked.
Right now, there's a lot of funniest going on.
Most creative.
Yep.
We've seen some creative ways of even. There's been some very funny ones. The one we happened to share today of the tandem deadlift from the guys from the Illinois. Not contingency
syndicate.
Yeah,
was that
Illinois
what they
syndicate.
said?
Yes, from Gonzo Barbell, where they did the partner one and wearing some very interesting costumes. But the part that I loved the best was the LaCroixs
next to the Christmas tree. I really like that.
That was like the thing that,
because anyone else is like, this makes no goddamn sense. I
really like seeing the specific things to Massenomics, where it's like you're doing the LaCroixs under the Christmas tree.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that was really good, because anyone else you show that to, it makes no sense at all. No sense at all.
And it was 2 cases of LaCroixs too. So someone bought those for that. Yep. Someone was like, "Okay, I'll pick up the LaCroixs on the way there."
Yeah, so I've been, and there's been a lot of other really good ones, and we will be sharing all the best, but that was just the most recent example that we saw right before tonight. So there's good stuff going on.
So we're gonna pick 10 winners, and each of those 10 winners will get one of the new Jefferson Deadlift League tees, which we don't even have those.
And everyone's trying to make it into the league.
Yes, it is. It's like the league, just like all the guys out of college. They try to make it into the league.
When we say JDL, do you think, to you, do those initials stand for Jefferson Deadlift or Jefferson Deadlift League?
I think it's really got to be Jefferson Deadlift League.
Okay.
Because
I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
That's what I thought initially. And then I'm like, well, some people, though, deadlift is DL. And I didn't know if maybe I was thinking of it wrong then.
No, I think it's got to be Jefferson Deadlift League, because then, for one thing, like in NBA or NFL, that last initial is always like the association or league or whatever. And also deadlift, I don't write that as 2 words.
I know, it is 1 word. So
people do that sometimes.
Well, yeah, you can make acronyms do whatever you want. If you want to you can leave out certain letters and make.
But I think
ones.
Jefferson Deadlift League is
I'm
better.
on board with that. Yeah.
But it is a cool looking design. We don't have, the shirts are being made kind of as we speak, and by the time the contest is over, we'll have those, and we'll have to announce our 10 winners. I mean, it's going to be tough. We're going to have like some sort of deliberation process. I think.
There will be.
It'll probably be like, well, these 5, that's the easy choice. And then it's going to be like...
And then these other 200 entries are the ones we're going to have to debate about.
That'll be
I'm just
tough.
realizing how much work this actually could be. I never really thought about this part of it.
And then, like, we have to manage everyone's... Like, we're going to disappoint some people because they're going to feel like, hey, mine had to have been one of the 10 best.
I said, well, but lucky for you, the JDL shirts are available for sale right here.
Great point.
So no one has to be left out.
It will be a pretty limited run.
Well, yeah, no one has to be left out unless you wait to order one. Then, in that case.
But we will have some for sale after our giveaways. And it's cool. It's a cool logo. It's another one of the last few of our shirts have been just things we put out as little memes or designs on Instagram.
And people got all hyped on them.
Like, this needs to be a shirt.
And who are we to deny the people what they want?
And someone, I responded to one of the comments on this one that said, I really want this to be a shirt. And my response was, this design is like Tinkerbell. Everyone has to believe in it being a shirt or else it isn't a shirt. Everyone has to believe or it's not real.
Or we just put the interns on it, right?
We do get our interns on quite a few things. Usually if anything's messed up, that was the intern's fault.
Definitely the intern's fault. As real or fake as they may be.
Yes. It would be nice if they were real.
Yeah. Make something a little easier. We're probably at the point where we could almost justify an intern. I'm
pretty sure there's companies out there that have interns that do less.
I was going to say I do feel like a Massenomics internship could actually teach students more valuable skills than many actual business internships could.
Oh, I think so.
I mean, most internships you're just doing the most menial of tasks,
right?
Where we could actually share some knowledge. To the point where, I mean, we could almost charge for it. To the point where they're definitely paying for college classes that aren't teaching them much more or less than what we could teach them.
That's true.
So we better look into that, Tanner.
That's true. We would have to relinquish some. It would be tough to turn over any
the trade secrets.
Yeah.
Well, we could just like make them sign some really legal paperwork and.
We'd have our legal interns write that up.
Yep, the legal team of interns would take care of that.
We'd get our paralegals on it.
Yeah, I think that's what they do.
So that's the Jefferson Deadlift League T competition giveaway contest that's going on right now.
Yep. So get on it, guys.
And you said what? You have to tag Massenomics and hashtag Jefferson Deadlift.
And
that's it.
And a video of Jefferson Deadlift of some kind.
Yes.
But that gets you in.
That gets you in.
So get on it.
Yep.
Someone else, Tanner, was recently wearing a Massenomics apparel, and it's a little different than our normal customer.
It was a little bit different. This one was pretty exciting. I was pretty stoked about this one.
You had, I think, more of a hunch that this was going to be happening.
Yeah. I kind of knew that it was coming down. It was on its way down the turnpike. I wasn't exactly sure when it was coming, but Mark Ripito, Rip, as they call him, of Starting Strength, the creator of Starting Strength. Starting Strength Radio is his podcast, their podcast, and he was wearing if you're watching right now, we have the flag behind us, the Don't Curl in Me tee he had on, and he wore it for the entire episode. I think it was an Ask Rip episode where they're just fielding questions from Instagram, and they have a big message board still. I don't know if you know.
Really?
Yeah, they have a big forum.
Wow.
Starting Strength forum.
There's not a lot of those left anymore.
No, they still have a pretty active one, I think. And for anyone that's not familiar, Starting Strength is a little bit of a cult following for sure.
And when you say a little bit of a cult, you mean it's very culty.
It's a cult, yeah. I mean, yes, it's a cult. And Rip is the figurehead for sure and kind of is the boss of the whole organization, I believe. And Rip, I think he's about 63 now, something like that.
Is he?
And I showed my wife. I was like, check this out. Mark Ripto's wearing a shirt for, a Massenomics
and she was
shirt.
like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever.
She's like, that old guy? She's like, is this that old guy you're always listening to on podcasts? And I was like, well, yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, yeah, I guess so. And she's like, how many podcasts does he put out a week? And I was like, oh, you're also talking about Dave Tate. He's the other old guy that his podcasts are like 3 hours long. So. Yeah. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, he bought a shirt. He actually has a couple Massenomics shirts too, but this is a different old guy that I'm excited is wearing a Massenomics shirt. But he did have some commentary at the end of the episode about us and the
about
shirt.
As much of a rave review as you could get.
He said it is the only baby shit yellow
t-shirt that he owns. And I think he said, I look great in it.
Yeah. And then what else? He had one other.
He said from the boys over at Massenomics, all types of interesting and amusing things over there.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. It was funny to hear him say that. Honestly,
interesting and amusing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good way of putting it. I guess
I have a copy of Starting Strength. I've read it. I've read it once full through before, and I've skimmed it several other times and stuff. But it's a pretty good, but like if you're really
it's
into
a bit of a
lifting,
classic.
Yeah, it is a classic. And Mark Ripto is a classic in the strength and conditioning world, so it's pretty cool. Like for those that have been around this field for a long time, it's like, he's wearing a Massenomics shirt. That's freaking crazy.
Yep.
And he doesn't really like much of anything, so it was kind of fun to see him say that. What'd you say? Interesting and
amusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the full on Starting Strength supporters. We kind of felt a little bump from them.
Yeah, we did. We saw a lot of people
like shortly after the podcast
Right.
came out. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, people are buying stuff at
Yeah.
very odd times right now.
and because Rip said to check it out.
Yeah, and they do as he says. So.
And we might have the opportunity to do maybe some more things with them in the future. So we'll see how that goes. That would be cool.
It'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Be all about that.
What's that? That's a collab.
Yeah,
We're into those collabs.
Yep.
Feet rip.
Feet rip. Open powerlifting, Tanner.
Oh yeah, that's another that just popped up today. I didn't know. I guess I maybe knew that this was coming down the pike, but you obviously had some inside.
Yeah, I knew
info
about
on
it
this.
since yesterday. So,
Oh,
Open Powerlifting launched a mobile app, or not a mobile app. They
Mobile
launched
site. Mobile-friendly
a mobile
site.
friendly version of their
Yeah.
website. That was always they said it, and I think if you ask most people, they'd say that the old site just didn't really work on phones.
Right.
You know, you'd be worked amazing on computers.
yeah.
And you could if you wanted to find something, you could make it work on a phone. You
You
just
had to zoom.
You had to work for it. A little
yeah.
bit.
You had to do a lot of zooming.
You had to work for it. And if that was your first experience coming to the site, I could see how that might be a deterrent for some people. They might just
Yeah.
think like, ooh, maybe this thing just doesn't work the way it should. And I have worked with them on some different pieces of things over the last year or so here. And I've known that that's kind of always been something they've been playing around with the idea for quite a
Yeah.
while. And it takes some work to get this stuff going on top of all of the other projects they have going on too.
Right.
And, they hit me up yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago, and said, "Hey, we have a mobile site launching soon. Can you give it the old tune-up, the visual tune-up?" And so they sent me some screenshots what they had going on, and came in to see if I could offer some advice and some
Yeah.
direction. And they had it like 98% done. I really didn't do much, but
Yeah.
just made a few little tweaks here and there. And I thought, okay, cool. Like, this thing should launch in the next month or so.
That's
And then
tomorrow.
it was like, I have a message. I got tagged by you, Tanner, or I got tagged by
yeah.
Matt. I'm like, why am I getting tagged in something?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, they launched that in less than 24 hours from when they told me about it. So
It is nice too. Did you check it?
I
try
did.
out
Yeah, I
as well?
used it. It works really well.
Yeah, it is a really big improvement
Mm-hmm.
over. So how does that work? Is it like it knows if you type in open powerlifting, it knows if you're typing it off of a mobile device,
So-
and it goes
Yeah,
to
so-
almost like a redirected site. Or
No.
how does that work?
No. So what it is it's basically they just refer to it as like responsive website design. So what it is the program you use to access a website is the browser, whether
Yeah.
that's Safari, Chrome, Firefox, whatever it is. When your browser goes to a website, the website will see what size your browser window is.
Yep.
So it can say like, all right, if the browser window is under this size, do this when people open the website. If
Gotcha.
it's over this size, so those are called like breakpoints. So like the desktop is a common size.
Yep.
So the desktop might be anywhere from 800 to 1300 pixels, and then it might be from 800 to 600 pixels. Could
It
be a
does
tablet.
this,
So
yeah.
that's the tablet size. And I'm really simplifying this.
So
but
does
then under
theirs have a
600,
tablet size?
that'd be a good question. Well, usually the kind of the other way is like maybe mobile landscapes when you turn your phone sideways. That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
that,
yeah.
that's getting to be sort of a tablet size.
Yeah.
But it'll just you can play around a lot of different websites. They react differently depending on how wide your browser is, and
Right.
your phone, because not even all phones. Phones have a lot of different sizes to them too. So that's what it is. It's just seeing what size your. I guess I can't say for certain how they have it coded, because you can do this multiple ways, but more than likely, I'm imagining they have it coded as it sees the size that your device is coming from, and it scales accordingly.
Well, that was a good addition to the site, or a good change.
Yeah.
It's
And then the filters all work nice too. Like there's that menu where you can select the filters really
that is
easily.
good.
Yeah, so it was a much needed thing, and I think that's one of the things that helped take them to that next level.
Yeah.
On top of all the other awesome things.
I
they're
like
doing
it because
already.
I use open powerlifting a lot for the stuff that we, a lot of the stuff that we make, like rookie cards, would be one of the big things that utilize it for. And
Yep.
A lot of times I do that off of a desktop, but it is nice to be. Probably a lot of times I would do it off of a desktop because the mobile thing kind of sucked to try to manipulate.
Well, yeah.
it
And
before.
now just knowing that you have that as an option,
yeah.
and the other thing too is like people now when they share those screenshots, they're just going to look nicer too.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So it kind of all feeds back into itself.
Yep.
So
Good job.
Yeah,
Open
good job,
Powerlifting.
Open Powerlifting team. They don't disappoint over there.
No, they don't.
And they don't quit working either, apparently.
Oh, they're probably up to 1 billion.
You think about it,
entries.
it's like at some point historically, it is possible to be caught up. You know?
Right. They're getting closer to that all the time, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
well,
always
and
getting...
they are. I know you can go into the list. They have the list of like all the federations, and they say like how complete they are.
Yeah.
There are some federations they are complete
100%
for.
complete. Yeah, and I've seen them share
which
that
is pretty
before.
crazy that's even a thing. You know, it seems like there's records like, oh, there has to be just huge chunks of records that people can't find.
Someday it'll imagine how what an accomplishment that would be though at some time when they're like within a certain amount of certainty or for the most part we're essentially with like legitimate federations, we're up to date within like the last month.
Yeah, it's probably there's always going to be like some obscure federations
but
in
like
a tiny country that nothing really significant is happening.
Right.
And yeah, it'd be great to have all those, but that's also not what a lot of people are concerned about.
Right.
It's, especially in a historical standpoint, the older meets is the ones that have like these big records associated with them.
It is getting to the point though where I know that it's not complete, but it is almost the assumption that of like if you pull someone up,
you just assume you're going to get
that's kind
them.
of pretty much. Not only will you find them, but like that their meet history is probably getting pretty close to where it's like almost inclusive of like it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I assume at this point, like if it's someone that's currently lifting, you know, that hasn't been like competing for over 30 years, I just kind of assume that if I'm going to pull up their name, I have like for the most part the entirety of their lifting history.
Yep.
And if they say it's not there, I almost am going to assume they're a liar.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, for sure. Pretty crazy that.
That speaks a lot to what they've managed to do there.
Yeah,
it really is impressive.
It is. Well done.
There was another thing that happened this week, Tanner.
Ooh.
And it's kind of, I can't say that Massenomics did it first, but I kind of want to say Massenomics did it first. Because, in our constant pursuit of content, we've just done everything under the sun.
When we did it all first, we've never borrowed anything.
I want to
from
make
anyone.
it known that we are always the first to do everything. No one has ever done anything before us. We are always the first.
No, we vet every idea to make sure that it's 100% original.
You have to go through a very intense process to verify that we are the first.
Yes.
And so this week, I found Mark Bell. He had a video, Powerlifters React. And what do powerlifters react to? It was powerlifters reacting to infomercial type fitness products.
Would you say almost like Fitness's Finest?
Which was very similar to Fitness's Finest, to the point where there was two products that actually had been on Fitness's Finest before, and one was Jazzercise. Do you remember what that was, Tanner? It was the one where you would like chew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you do something with your. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, we did enough weird jaw ones that it could have maybe not been on there. I don't even remember now.
But we did do something just like that.
And the other one was Leg Magic. And that one was the one. Oh, I got to turn this down just a little bit.
So this is Leg Magic, you're saying? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Where you would just
glide
stand and like
and forth.
laterally like move your legs side to side. I think this was maybe the one that really got us going on the under the bed kick. Does it fit under the bed?
And did they comment about it?
I don't know. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just saw the video of like powerlifters reacting. I'm like, I gotta see what this is about.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, yep, Massenomics did it. So
yeah. Well, they got to get their ideas from somewhere, right?
yeah. So just another case of we did it first. No one bothered looking anywhere else. No one has ever done that idea before. It was done by Massenomics.
We started it. Yes, definitely. I like.
So give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, us. I like it a lot of times on Instagram whenever someone uses that, the verses, the literal verses symbol that we use for Massenomics verses. When someone else uses that and doesn't even necessarily follow the rest of the format very closely, a lot of people will comment on there like at Massenomics, hey, what's up with this? It's like, well, I guess they can also use that versus symbol that we took off the internet when you Google versus the first thing.
It is crazy how like far reaching that versus symbol is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I see it for like, I mean, I see it for people comparing laptops, shoes,
Yeah.
phones, like
Yeah.
anything that people compare in any industry. I see them use that exact same versus
Right.
that everyone just rips off of the internet.
Yes.
It's 100% what it is.
Yes. It's like, unfortunately, we don't have ownership of that.
Yeah. Well, what do you do?
But, yeah.
Okay, Tanner, before we get to the one more thing on the list here before
Well,
we
got
get
a
before we
lot
get
of
to
little
today's
tidbits
before we
on
get
the
to
list.
today's feature presentation.
Yeah. The ads.
the final 30 minutes of ads.
A lot of people are still really searching for that full ad episode.
I know.
I think
we gotta work
someday
on
we've
that.
got to do it.
You know what? We almost need to do like one of those telephone, like a telethon thing where we can just call in. You know, we'll go live. It'll
Go
be
do a live,
support
yeah.
through viewers like you, and it'll just be on Instagram Live for an hour.
Yeah.
Where people can call in, pledge their money, and we'll say whatever they want us to say.
If only more than 4 people would watch an Instagram live, we would do that. Anytime I've ever pulled that up before, there's like 6 people, 4 people,
Well,
5 people.
if we promote it and let people know about it ahead
that's
of
true.
time,
That's true.
you know, get on the Massenomics email list.
Yeah.
You can be in the know, and we can
Send
promote
us money for our telethon.
for our telethon. We'll have to buy a landline just for that month, so no one has our cell phone number.
And so we can just have one of those
Plus,
phones
yeah,
here. and
we'll have to
just,
buy a couple. No, we have to create the illusion of being really busy, so we'll have to buy a bunch of landlines actually,
yeah.
and then get a bunch of people to man them all
behind
for
us.
us too. Yeah.
like people that you can't quite hear.
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
like,
they're just off in the distance.
Yeah.
They're just writing on paper the whole time. There's like clocks and TVs in the background. And there's definitely people that are like, what the hell's a telethon, you know?
That's true. You'll find out.
But there was maybe like a distant relative of Massenomics, and that is Masonomics.
Yeah. It's also sometimes how people pronounce Massenomics.
It's
when they
how,
don't know it.
it is how people do pronounce Massenomics when they're not in the know.
Yeah, I can't remember. Somebody DM'd that to us, and they saw this on the side of a pickup, and it's Massenomics Inc. out of Richmond, Virginia.
You want to assume that they're stone masons of some kind, right?
Yeah, they do have pictures of bricks on the next to the logo. So
It's a good name for a company.
yeah, and all they did was they put an O in theirs where ours is not an O.
I gotta assume they're really good at what they do, though.
I bet they are. I
With
wonder
a name
if they
like that, they can't.
I wonder if they
can't
do
be bad.
funny like bricklaying memes and stuff.
Like we go on Instagram, they have 100,000 followers, and they're just killing it.
I'd like to think that that's what it is.
They just know what's up
They're an Inc. though, and we're an LLC.
legally.
Yeah.
As far as the government's concerned, we're completely different.
Yep. So that's the latest on companies that are also trying to be like us. Masons.
Tanner, time for what some people say is the best part of the show,
Ah, thank God. I thought we were never going to get here.
and that is the ads. Here we go. The Massenomics Podcast is brought to you by Spud Inc. and the Lat Saw with cable handles. The Spud Inc. Lat Saw is a new level of back mutilation. This medieval-looking tool is designed to work your lats in various 1-inch increments. The multiple attachment points allow you to use a wide assortment of handles. You can go from a wide grip to a narrow grip in seconds, without changing handles or moving to a separate piece of equipment. The Lat Saw pairs great with their cable handles, jump rings, and dozens of other attachments. Check it out online at spud-inc-straps.com. Tanner, do you get how this device works?
I just saw it somewhere. It wasn't on Spud's page or something. I saw it somewhere else that I saw one of those being used.
Yeah, where it's like a bar and it basically has notches in it. So
Yeah, and you can put your-
so that instead of just a lat pull down bar with like handles on the end or being a straight bar, it has different notches in it, so you can set different widths to your grip.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool idea.
Yeah, it makes total sense too.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but like
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah. Just like all the spudding stuff, simple but good idea, and I'm on board with it.
Yes.
Today's show is also brought to you by Lifting Large. Lifting Large is your one-stop online shop for powerlifters, strongmen, Highland Game athletes, CrossFit athletes, and anyone that lifts iron. They have over 2,100 training tools from the top brands like Titan Support Systems, ER Equipment, Spud Inc., Skull Smash, Pro Lock Collars, Kabuki Strength, Texas Bars, Pioneer Belts, and more than 15 other manufacturers. Lifting Large has been serving strength athletes around the world through their online store for over 15 years. Owners Mike and Teal Ottoman have over 55 years of experience competing in powerlifting, strongman, and Highland Games. They hold multiple world and American records, so you can rest assured knowing the products they carry are the best in the industry. Visit liftinglarge.com today. There is free shipping on any orders over $60, and 99% of orders are shipped the same day they are placed. Listeners of the Massenomics Podcast can save 20% on Lifting Large branded items. Just use discount code MASS20 at checkout. That's MASS20 at checkout to save 20% on Lifting Large branded items. Place your orders at liftinglarge.com, and you can follow them on Instagram at liftinglarge.com. That's liftinglarge, DOTCOM.
I just noticed a couple people this week on, I can't remember who this was either, but people that I follow on Instagram wearing the green ground lock lifting slippers that they sell.
Yep.
And the green usually pops out to me, and I
does.
noticed that.
And when it pops, you know what
It
to say about
pops.
when it pops.
It really pops.
It does pop. And this episode of the Massenomics Podcast is also brought to you by Hybrid Performance Method. If you've been training without a coach and have been looking for a competitive edge, remember to check out hybridperformancemethod.com. Hybrid has 15 different strength and fitness programs covering everything from powerlifting and strongman to gymnastics and general fitness, all included in one training membership. That's not all. Hybrid also offers one-on-one personalized nutrition coaching that uses lifestyle habits and a flexible approach to shape your nutrition plan around your current lifestyle, instead of turning your lifestyle upside down in order to support unsustainable habits that only work in the short run the way most programs do. If you're ready to take your training, nutrition, or both to the next level, use code MASS in all caps for 5% off memberships to all programs for the life of your membership. Thank you to our sponsors.
Thank you, sponsors.
All right, Tanner, it is time to get to today's feature presentation.
Geez, this has all just been a lead up to that.
This has all been a lead up, and we haven't even told people what the feature presentation is
That's
today.
true. We didn't even tease it.
I would assume the title of the episode will probably be this, so
Yeah.
it probably won't be too much of a
So up
surprise.
until now, you've been wondering, when the fuck are they talking about?
when are they ever going to get to it? But we are going to talk about the documentary Game Changers. And this is a documentary that made waves online, like especially in the social media industry.
Yep.
The fitness social media world. It was making waves. Like people were freaking out. For the most part, the reaction I got was people freaking out about it. Just because I'm following more people in the strength world and they want to hate on it. But if you're not in the know, the Game Changers documentary is basically a documentary trying to make the argument that everyone should go to a plant-based diet. They even use the word vegan a lot.
Yeah.
That was
Whole
already
food, plant-based.
Yeah, that was already kind of one of my issues with the documentary is I couldn't quite tell if they were trying to make a push towards a vegan lifestyle or a plant-based diet because they kind of use the terms interchangeably and they are very different things.
Right.
They're not, I mean, yes, they're both using plant-based diets, but they are different lifestyles.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's really what it's about. And I think where a lot of people are upset with it is the claims that it's making. Mm-hmm. And there's no shortage of claims in the documentary. There is a crazy amount of claims. And they all, to their credit, most of the claims that they make, they have a tiny little citation down in the corner, I think, to show that, yep, this is where we're citing it from. This is coming from a paper somewhere. Also, though, you can read data to say about whatever you want it to.
Exactly. You can interpret you can find what you're looking for, whatever those viewpoints are, and spin it that way.
Yeah,
I mean,
in most things. So before we get started, my opinion on I don't care what people. I was kind of talking about this last week. I don't care what people eat. Like the people that want to push their diet and try to convince the world to be on their diet are almost at that multi-level marketing level of annoying. Like, who cares what people eat? You don't have a diet. There's no way that everyone's diet is as good as they think it is.
Right.
It's the people that are trying to sell you these diets. There's not. It's just we're in this world of oversaturation of diets. And everyone thinks they have the best one, and it's so annoying.
And wants to tell you about it.
Yeah, and it's so annoying to hear. It is the most annoying thing.
Right.
It's right up there with politics and religion and all that. no one cares, man. Just do your thing. And so that's where, like, when I look at this, right, pushing a I don't care if people like. There's some people like, oh, vegetarians. Oh, you're not. I don't.
Right. I don't think either of us.
If you're more or less of a man or whatever for whatever food you're like, I don't. I'm not in first grade, so that tactic doesn't appeal to me.
No.
I'm never gonna be like, oh, he's eating carrots. What a baby! Like that's so stupid. So I don't care what people eat. Like that. If people want to be vegetarian, great, good for them. That's totally fine. It's their life; they can do their thing. If people want to just eat meat and be like Mark Bell and talk about how keto's the best thing in the world, that's fine. You're also really annoying, but it's fine. You can do that. That's no big deal. That's totally cool. So I was coming into it with a pretty open mind. Did you have? Were you like, all right, I'm interested to see what they're?
I just had to watch it because there's so much talk about it. I was just like, I got to see what's going on.
And I kind of was like, I don't even think I will watch it. But then you're like, you should watch it so we can talk about it together. I was like, that is a good idea. That is a good idea. So I just watched it last night.
Yeah, I didn't go into it either, though. I wasn't like, stupid old vegans.
Yeah, I can't wait to
watch this just so I can rip it apart.
Yeah, like, because I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I can't wait to watch this thing and prove it all wrong.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I was like, I'm curious to see if they have anything worth saying.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot that I think right now, so we're in this next little bit here, we're obviously going to have a lot of criticisms of it. Otherwise, we'd have to end the podcast very early.
I'd be like, oh, it was a good movie.
So I did have a lot of criticisms, but almost none of my criticisms are going to be based on the data, just because I'm not going to take the time to read scientific papers, and I'm not going to.
We don't know.
And
we haven't taken the time.
Yeah, and I'm not going to claim to be that guy. So if you want to like see someone like refute the claims on a scientific basis. Like I saw Lane Norton has like a 40-minute video where he talks about it. He has a PhD. I think he's qualified to make that. But unless you're at that level, I don't think many people are qualified to actually make these claims unless they're just repeating other claims that people said. So
which we could have done that, I guess.
Yeah, we could have done that. But my issues are going to be more based off of just the way they're framing some of the arguments. Yeah. And we can talk about that a lot. And that's how a lot of documentaries are. I mean, that is where the issues come down to is how they're framing. And essentially it's marketing, how they're marketing their idea to the world.
Right.
There's a lot of places, Tanner. I'm not even sure where to start. I guess maybe I'll say the one, maybe the thing that the idea that I was maybe the most understanding of or got behind the most, and this is the one that I've heard several times, and that was just one of their arguments for moving to a plant-based diet is how inefficient it is energy-wise to produce meat. And I don't think you can really debate that one scientifically. Like, it takes a lot of water, a lot of food, a lot of fuel, a lot of manpower, a lot of energy to produce a pound of meat. Like there's no doubt about that. Like I actually worked on a farm where we fed cattle. Like it took a crew of people to maintain them. Right. You know, and all of the fuel that goes with it, all of the energy costs. Like I don't know, and I don't know if there's people that debate that one, but I think it's pretty scientifically they say isn't like
the cattle themselves, they're like the methane that
they produce like 15% of the methane gas in the world, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
And like I've ran across those stats pretty regularly on different things, so I don't think that that's one that people can debate a whole lot.
I don't think so either. I think that's true.
And that one seems like that's a pretty easy one to like track.
Yeah.
I mean, it's big numbers, so I guess that part's hard. But like you can't deny that if you're going to put corn in the ground and take it out and eat it, that's one step. But if you're going to take the corn out of the ground, process it a certain way, store it a certain way, haul it a certain way, feed it to cattle again and again and again for them to just shit it out, and then they got to eat more and more and more and more. Like that's a lot more steps in the energy process. So if a person decides to go plant-based diet in the name of being proactive to the environment, I'll buy that argument. I understand that. I don't have the willpower to do that right now. So I mean, awesome for you, the person that's doing it, but that's just not where I'm at yet. But I do understand that part of it. They did only touch on that part very briefly, though.
Yeah, that wasn't that much.
They glossed over that one pretty fast. So the documentary starts. It's this guy he actually won Ultimate Fighter in 2009 or
something like that.
What was his?
I don't remember.
Something Wilkes. I don't even remember his name anymore now either.
John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah,
it's the guy that invented the Wilkes formula. John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah, it's something Wilkes. He's a British guy, and he won. He won the UFC Ultimate Fighter show a while ago. In his process of fighting, he severely injured both of his knees and needed surgery. And in his surgery process, his recovery process, he was trying to figure out a quicker way to recover, and started doing research on diet, which I think that's not unusual. A lot of people will get to that point. But what he ran across is all this evidence about a plant-based diet and how it seemed like the superior way to go. And one of the very first claims he makes is that what he ran across was it Roman gladiators in this one arena where they kept finding gladiator remains. Is they can do some tests, and apparently it's your bones will have these certain. You can trace certain things. Yeah, you can test certain bones, and you can find that you were on a plant-based diet. Depending on what minerals and things are showing up in the bones. So it turned out that according to the tests, a lot of these Roman gladiators were on a plant-based diet. And he thought that he framed that as just being this incredible thing. And I thought, do we even know how strong and big and healthy Roman gladiators were? Like, do we have anything that, like, if someone said you're going to look like a Roman gladiator, my head goes to the statues.
Yeah.
And the statues are obviously stylized,
Right.
These chiseled, like, ripped guys that are like 7 feet tall. And like to date, no one even has a physique like that. So that's obviously not real. So what is a Roman gladiator health, physical? What are those characteristics?
And basing what's best off of what people used to do, it's also the same thing that with the paleo diet would be a big one. This is what the cavemen did. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
does that make it the best thing to do? Like, I don't
someone tell
me.
Yeah, someone tell me what was the average caveman's blood pressure? Like, how long did the average caveman live to? Like,
right. And that's just any diet. Like, not even picking on a plant-based vegan diet or paleo diet or a carnivore diet, or like
could be
just that as a justification.
Say,
this is what people did in a certain area. In a certain
people also didn't
era.
Use electricity 200 years ago. Like, are we going to quit doing?
I'm going to use it. I'm going to drive a car. I'm going to use a cell phone.
Yeah, so I don't get that argument of just because that's how it was a long time ago, that means it's right.
Right.
And that was the same thing. Like, if someone said you could look like a Roman gladiator, I'd be like, well, what did they actually look like? Weren't people all small back then, anyways? I'm assuming they were all like 5'5" little men, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, of course, there's outliers of anything, but it's like.
I don't think they were like 6'3", 240 of just cut lean muscle.
Right. And do we know? So if they were on a plant-based diet, what? It's just there's so many like conclusions being drawn without really know. Like, do we know that why they were?
Yeah.
Like, and do we know what they would have been like had they not been? Like, could they have even been more ripped and chiseled that we already don't know exactly how ripped and chiseled they were?
Yeah.
Like,
for all we know, they would go through. I don't know. Someone probably knows the answer to this, but for all we know, they did like the what the Chinese do, where they identify, well, you're more physically fit as a 4-year-old. You're going to be an Olympian. You're going to be a gladiator. I don't know if that's how it worked or not.
Right.
That could be it too. So that whole argument, I'm like, well, sure, they might have had more plants, but I don't get how that should convince anyone in any way. And if that convinces you, I'm assuming like you're operating at like a middle school brain power level. Like, you're like, oh, gladiators, cool. I'm sold. So already I was like, all right, not sold here. Not sold here. So then he gets done with that. And I think at that point he moves on to just talking about athletes that are on a plant-based diet. He's like, so then I started looking. Once I found the gladiators were on it, is anyone doing this nowadays? And the first, I did think he framed this pretty good, because the first example he shows is like, I think like an ultra marathon runner.
Yeah.
Like a guy that you would look like and be like, I don't know, that guy might be sick. He's so skinny. Like, he doesn't look, he just looks like a scraggly guy. Like, he no doubt has achieved some incredible things, but
Right.
no one would look at that big guy and be like, that's the picture of fitness. You would just have no idea.
No.
And he just shows like a variety of athletes. And for the most part, they're like skinnier endurance type athletes. And my brain's thinking, well, yeah, there's no big guys.
Right.
And then it was like he
He
knew
knew we were
He
saying, hey, there's no big
And
guys.
some people are saying, all you're doing is showing me skinny people.
Yeah.
Show me someone with some strength. And then he cuts to the strong man. And this is where I like immediately got a little frustrated because like they're making this guy look enormous. Like they're making him look like a very big man.
Yeah.
And then he stands next to the guy and it's like, you're like the same size as the UFC fighter who fought at like 160 pounds.
Yeah.
And so I had to look it up. The guy's 5'7". The strongman was 5'7".
Yeah.
Not saying you can't be a strongman, but you're not like an elite strongman when you're 5'7".
Well, and also, have you heard of this guy before?
Also, I had not heard of him. So
wouldn't that be a little bit of a...
yeah, so that was the other one. And the guy's strong. I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's not strong. I think he actually has some powerlifting credentials
and
to
he's
his name too.
competed in some legitimate strongman competitions, I know.
But
I know.
no one
But
is
he's not
gonna
in the...
Well, and no one's going to say like come up with a list of respect or like strongmen that have achieved something. You're not to say this guy isn't doing stuff, but he's not going to come to mind. He's not
No.
in the talking.
No.
And what I was so confused by right away, and they brushed over this in a hurry, they're like, oh, he holds multiple world records.
What are these world records?
The yoke, the log press. I'm like, he does not have the. Did you hear them say that?
Yeah, and I was
And they
like-
might have just said press, but
Yeah.
they showed footage of him doing the log press while they were saying it.
Right.
And I'm like, what?
Well, we kind of know who has those records.
I'm like,
and-
I know who has the records. So then later on, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but at the end of the movie, like when it's all kind of coming to a climax, he breaks the world record with a like 1,250 pound yoke. And I'm like,
We've watched people at the Arnold do
no.
15.
So then I'm thinking, is this a world record for his weight class? But even then, a middleweight, because assuming he's a middleweight, which he's not. I mean, he weighs more than 220.
Yeah.
But even that, we saw the guy at the Arnold the one year that on the heavy yoke. I
Yeah.
think he was like a 220.
One of the Hodge brothers.
Yeah, one of the
right?
brothers. Yes,
Yeah.
and what's that yoke like 1450 or
Yeah,
something?
whatever it is,
or
like
1600.
yeah.
So I don't know where they're getting this number from. That
Yeah.
was not true. It's not a world record, and if it's a world record, it's on some weird age weight class split, which
Or some
in
very
strongman
weird
doesn't matter at all.
Length of a yoke, or like the heaviest that anyone has ever moved, 43 feet. It's
Yeah,
like, well, yeah, okay.
Well, just because all right, no one goes that distance.
right,
Like,
right.
So I had problems with that. It's like like when you're doing the research that part's not true.
Right.
Like it didn't take much. If you're going to claim to do all this, so that already like rubbed me wrong. That this guy's claiming to put forth, yes, I researched this is all correct, and then you're putting something out there that's very obviously not correct, or correct because you just sliced the pie so many ways that you made it correct.
Right. And that gets into an area where you're out of the space of whether you're talking about this plant-based diet is the healthiest option for you, because people that are doing competitive strongman, most competitive strength sports, almost any sport that's extremely competitive, their primary focus is not purely health.
No, it's performance.
Performance, exactly.
And that goes
Yeah.
back to one of my other issues is if you're trying, I couldn't quite tell if he was trying to say that a plant-based diet is the best diet for performance or the best diet for healthiness. And he spent a lot of time on the performance part. Like
Right.
that's why you're spending all this time
And
with
that's
athletes
right.
is because you're showing what peak performance is.
Right.
But then later on it was showing this is what the healthiest is. And I think he was just trying to say it is the best performing and the healthiest, I think is what he's trying to say.
And that's where, like, granted, I have nothing to back it up other than just like purely anecdotal stuff. And like, if you're going to talk about strongman, because he brought that into the picture, plant-based diet is not the best for performance. Look at the top 30 guys.
No, and-
How many of them are on plant-based diets? I'm guessing none of them.
And you could also say that steroids are the best for performance.
Yeah,
That is the common link.
But and that's the point. Like, health is not their primary concern.
No.
They have chosen an extreme lifestyle
Well,
that's far beyond health.
And this is one thing that Stan Efferding does do well, is that he does make it very clear that You want to be healthy? Don't compete.
Right,
Because
yes.
the whole point of competing is almost always pushing things to the limit in an unhealthy
Yeah,
way.
that's
It's
why-
the NFL, he brings some NFL players in. Okay, they're having a healthier diet, but their heads are getting smashed every play.
Right.
You know,
Right.
most of these guys don't last more than about 10 years or so
Yeah.
because it's detrimental to their life. So I guess, add a few years on with the plant thing, maybe.
And you can find people choosing to do any diet in almost any sport like that are having success, right? Like you can pull out anecdotes from like anywhere and anything and be like, I feel great.
And this was, I kept thinking like, is it causation and correlation here?
Right.
Or is it just like you found someone that's good at what they do? Because there's a lot of people that are good at what they do and you could feed them, I don't know, shit, and they'd still be good. Like
Right.
they're just at the end of the day going to be better.
Right.
And the one of the examples he used was, and this is a little out of my element, but he's comparing UFC, Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. Mm-hmm. It was a big fight. Those are two of the biggest names. And Conor McGregor ends up losing to Nate Diaz. And he said, he frames it as it was because Nate Diaz was on a plant-based diet and Conor McGregor had upped he's even quoted saying, I was eating 2 steaks a day and up before the fight, and that just threw me off. I want to think, you as a fighter know more than anything that fighting is a very skill and technique dependent sport.
Mm-hmm.
And to like think that, I mean, to think that if I was on a plant-based diet, that all of a sudden that's going to like give
Improve
me
your
the
skill and
edge on
technique
anyone fighting.
especially in a short term.
It has nothing to,
yeah. Especially in a short-term window, like
your diet
not
is a
years.
part. Yeah, your diet is a part of the puzzle. But
Yeah.
I just think to say like, well, Nate Diaz won that fight because he was on a plant-based diet, which is how he presented it.
Right.
He did present it as
Yeah.
he won the fight because he was on a plant-based diet. I'm just like, that's maybe number 15 on the list of why he won.
Yeah.
You know, he probably had a smarter game plan. He executed better. He just performed better that day.
Yep.
I have a really hard time giving the plant-based diet more than like 2% of the edge.
Right. Do you know about Forks Over Knives?
I've heard of the
Okay.
documentary. I've never watched it.
So Michael Fahey, who direct a good tie-in here, produced West Side versus the World.
Yep.
Was one of the primary editors on Forks Over Knives.
Okay.
And while he did that,
So what is that?
it was like the precursor. It came out in like 2011.
Was
and
that
it's
in
about
favor of the plant-based diet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And he did a plant-based diet while he was doing it. And he said he felt really good. He was running and his running was good and overall healthy. He felt great. He said as far as strength goes, it's probably some of the weakest he's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But he did say that he felt healthy. But anyways, he was doing an Instagram live or something like that. And I jumped on there and he was eating a cheesecake. And I said, is that a plant-based vegan cheesecake? And it got him going on Game Changers. He hasn't seen it, but he was one of the main guys behind Forks Over Knives, which is a precursor. It was before Game Changers is probably the most popular plant-based vegan, quote unquote.
It was the only other documentary I've heard of in that realm.
Right. And his point about Game Changers, he said he didn't even watch it. He said, I already know mostly all the people that they interviewed and talked to for this because we did this all already. Forks Over Knives was less sport performance based and more just about the health side of it. He said he wanted to do a movie follow-up like this that was more like what Game Changers did, but it didn't have the support at the time. But anyways, his point being, he believes really the audience that something like Game Changers is geared for, or who it could even make sense to, or who there could be good takeaways for, really isn't people that are already even mildly on top of nutrition and training and exercise, because it's really, you find all these holes in it, all that, and everything. But like if you just take your average American couch potato that doesn't do shit, like, is it a good idea for them to pay attention to what's going in their mouths? Yeah, that's good. Is it like if it requires them being on a plant-based whatever diet? is that still good? Yeah, it's probably good because they're going to make a lot of improvements over what they're doing now. But if you take people like us that are really familiar with powerlifting, strongman, all that stuff, it's like, well, that's kind of a lot of bullshit stuff that you're like trying to point out there.
Yes, and what you're saying ties into one part of the movie really good. And there's one part where they go to a fire hall in New York City. And they have these firefighters, and they talk to them about the number one reason firefighters die on the job is a heart attack. I believe that's probably true. I don't doubt that for a second. Very strenuous for a number of reasons, both physically and mentally. And so he's saying, one of the things you need to really watch is you need to get that diet in line for your cholesterol, so you're not having heart attacks and all this. So they come into the fire hall. They give these guys like all of the plant-based groceries. Is it for like a week or two or something like that?
Yeah.
And they take some vitals on them, and then they put them on this plant-based diet for like 2 weeks and come back and take their vitals. And a lot of these guys, their cholesterol drops like 100 points, like big things. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking like, that's just because they didn't eat like shit for 2 weeks. Right. If you
could have been on a healthy, say even like an if it fits your macros diet or anything like that, where it's calories are tracked, macros are tracked.
Yeah, it's just they paid attention to what they ate.
Right.
Like that's what I'm thinking is like that's what the difference is. Like they probably, I would assume at the fire hall, they're not eating every meal super clean. They're probably frying up chicken, and they probably have dessert, and they're having
like your average.
Yeah, they're having a good time. They're probably having pizza. Yeah. They're doing all the good stuff. That's why.
Take that away for 2 weeks.
Take that away. It doesn't. Yeah, a plant-based diet, it's a great way to get rid of that stuff. But also, if they would have just observed portion control and just ate a little cleaner and cut out the processed foods and the grease and all that shit,
there probably would have been a significant change.
And so again, it's hard to say that is the reason why. Right. I also couldn't quite figure out. So we know as people that are educated in just the smallest amount that at the end of the day, your weight and all that stuff, it comes down to calories in, calories out.
Yeah.
And I would assume one of the reasons why a plant-based diet is easy to be healthier on is because you'd have to eat a shit ton of food to gain weight.
Right.
Like
it makes it very hard.
It makes it hard to overeat. It's like, are you going to eat 3 pounds of carrots a night?
Right.
And even if you did, you're probably still under your calories no matter what.
Right.
It's just hard to.
Yeah, you can't get the calories.
They're not super dense calorically.
No. So the calories per bite is going to be way down compared to a double cheeseburger from McDonald's.
You could say, well, that's why a plant-based diet is great. And yeah, I would give it that point totally. It makes it way easier to keep calories under control.
Because you can, but how are you going to like?
It's hard to overeat. Yeah. But one of the things that I got confused on is, all right, so if calories are step one of managing, step two is probably your macros, protein, fat, carbs.
Yeah.
And they kind of made mention several times to where people think they need more protein than what they do. They never actually said what that number can be or should be. Never touched on that. And maybe it's because that does depend on what your performance goals are.
Definitely.
So it is hard to make that, but they never once said that. They did go through a point where they were criticizing meat, and it seemed like one of the main things they were criticizing it for was the fat in it. But also fat is essential. You do need fat in your body will, if you cut out all fat, your body will be in trouble because that is what regulates hormones and all of that stuff that I don't completely know. But I do know that part.
That it's important.
You can get by without carbs. You can have a diet without carbs and you will survive. You cannot have a diet without protein or fat. Those are required in your diet. But they make no mention as to
how much do you really need?
And what they think is the bad one and the good one. It seemed like they were kind of getting on fat for a little bit. They also kind of criticized protein for a while, and they did criticize carbs and processed sugar. So they kind of felt like criticized all three, and I'm like, well, what are you trying to say, like, direction we should go? So don't, like, watch the documentary think you're going to get any actionable items out of it, because you'll get nothing.
Right.
Like, and the only vegetarian-based food they ever show is a burrito. Just every time they do something, it's a burrito. It's a vegetarian burrito.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that just the go-to because it's easy, or is that the go-to because that's the one that tastes good?
Yeah.
So, don't expect any meal plans or any meal recommendations or anything. Just the only diet advice they give you is eat a plant-based diet.
Yeah.
That was kind of annoying, but
a lot of vegetarian burritos.
I get it. You can't give meal tips in a documentary and keep it under 5 hours and interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Other notes I had here, Tanner. A few things that were just so outrageous. I cannot believe they flew
the penis test.
Well, no, we're gonna get to that one, but they flew by this one in a hurry, and I don't know if you caught it. They referenced some studies, and one study that they referenced very quickly, they said in one study, participants that drank beet juice before bench pressing increased their performance by 19%. And I thought, okay,
19%.
I thought, wow,
Damn.
Tanner, how much have you benched before?
475.
475.
20%.
So just to think, if you would have had a glass of beet
done
juice,
another
you could have done
100 pounds.
Could have done another 100 pounds. There's
I'll drink
no
it.
way. There's
I'll drink
no
10
way.
gallons of
there's
beet
no
juice.
way that that's true, because that would be the beet juice would be
Yeah.
like on every banned substance list in the world.
So you're testing untrained
So you're
lifters.
clearly testing people that are completely untrained. And so what is this apply?
Yeah.
Okay, they drink beet juice. Those studies make no sense to me.
Right,
That are
right,
taking untrained people at
Yeah.
all. And it'd be one thing if you're just talking about untrained people, but when you're framing it in the thing of talking about its performance benefits, well, it's not performance benefits to anyone that has actually gone through any type of performance regimen of any
Right.
kind.
Definitely
So
not.
that fact, I was just like laughing because it was so ridiculous.
I would assume that beet juice would affect your bench press performance by 0%.
Yeah,
Because it
just like
if it really
just
did,
like any juice in
if
the
it
world.
really did, even like 1% or some really
Anything?
like something that's marginal, that there's a margin there, an increasable margin, we would all be doing it because someone
Yeah.
would have figured out
here's,
by now.
Here's the liquids
And
that
we
I
would
think
all-
can
yeah.
increase your bench press. Water, because you need to be hydrated.
Yes.
Water that has caffeine in it, because that is scientifically documented many times that caffeine can help. And then any liquid that might have steroids of some kind in it probably can also increase your bench press. I think that's it for liquids that help your bench. I think that's it, right?
I agree. Yes.
No other liquids are increasing your bench, or they would have been documented.
Yeah. And we'd all
Maybe-
be doing
maybe
we
the-
would all be doing it because
Maybe the liquid in ammonia that you huff before
Yeah,
you do.
yep, there you go.
But outside of that, no liquids are increasing your bench. So let's not pretend that that's a thing. Other claims. This guy being a fighter. I think most people, if you said battle ropes, it's the ropes
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
mount
yeah,
to a
yeah.
platform, and you see fighters and people training, the CrossFit,
Yeah.
all this stuff. They're shaking the ropes up and down. Well, at his gym in England, they have, it's a contest, and if you can go 20 minutes of
Nonstop,
continuous rope shaking nonstop, you get your name on the
Continuous rope
wall.
shaking.
Yeah, battle roping. So if you can do 20 minutes of continuous battle roping, you get your name on the wall, and it's a major feat, as it probably should be. I'm sure it's really hard to do. I've never tried to do it, but I can
Certainly
see how
not
your
going to.
your arms and your upper body would be on fire. He says that he hadn't been training. He hadn't done any training for several months. Zero training. He was untrained. He went into the gym just to see what he could do. At 10 minutes, a time he was normally done, he felt great. He hit the 20-minute mark, felt even better. 30 minutes came, 40 minutes came, 50 minutes came. He hit the 60-minute mark. I was not tired yet. But once 61 hit, I said, I'm good.
enough.
And I quit and I walked away. And they're recording him doing this. I'm assuming what they're recording, I hope what they're recording was just a bad reenactment, because he literally goes like this and just walks away. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And you were not trying if you walked
just
away and
walked
just go,
away and
like you can't do
Anything
I don't
for-
care how good you are at push-ups. You don't do push-ups for 5 minutes.
And
doing
walk around.
real actual push-ups to go, I'm done. Like that's not how that stuff works.
Right.
So I was like, well, that's just a straight up lie.
Yeah,
Like I don't know
yeah.
what you might have done battle ropes for 60 minutes, but you weren't doing them like you do battle ropes. You can say I went for a run for 60 minutes, but there's a big difference between running for 60
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
and doing a very easy jog.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't get what that claim was. That was again one that I'm like, what's the point of this? Next claim that I took a note of here, Tanner. I don't know if you caught this one. The female cyclist. That a female cyclist.
Yep, they did the really slanted track cycling thing.
Is there 1,000 people in the United States that participate in this? I'm not saying
That
they're not.
seems-
I'm not saying they're not athletes,
Oh,
but
yeah.
powerlifting gets like ragged on for
Yeah.
there's no one that participates in it. I at least know people. Like, is there a track?
How far do we have to drive
say,
to find one of those tracks?
I would
even?
assume maybe in Minneapolis there's
Maybe.
one of those.
I wouldn't even
one of those
guarantee it.
wood banked indoor cycling tracks.
I would not guarantee there's one of those in Minneapolis.
I would think in Chicago.
Yeah, we might have to go as far as Chicago.
You know, Colorado has an Olympic training center.
So there's
maybe
one
there's one
there.
there.
Yeah.
But is there more than a couple? Like, consider the entire Midwest. Is there more than a couple of those?
No.
So already, how many people participate in that sport?
Tiny.
All right, so that's why it's like I have a hard time like using that as the metric for how to gauge human performance. It's a sport that the smallest subsect of the population is participating in.
Yeah.
And then
You know,
take
that's just something that like that's one of those sports that white people
it's a white
make
person
to be
sport
like,
to the max.
No, we need something that we can be good at it.
Yeah,
so we're going to do this so freaking obscure and expensive and everything.
It's like, you got to have money and live in a very specific urban area. And so already there's no one participating in that sport.
Right.
Not to say they're not athletes because, they're jacked. But they use this one woman as an example. And she is an accomplished cyclist from what I understand. She talks about how, I don't know if she'd always been on a plant-based diet or if she moved to one later in life, but I think it was that she moved to one later in life. And she goes, I switched to a plant-based diet and my training took off. I was all of a sudden on the leg press machine doing 500, I think she said like 525 pounds.
Right.
I would do 12 reps for 10 sets. And it shows her. And she is doing it like you would expect her to do it. Like her legs are moving, I don't know, 5 inches maybe.
Right.
Which is how people do the leg press.
Yeah.
And like, you're not helping your cause. Like you might have had something, but don't use these examples to show of the female indoor banked bike cyclist, whatever.
That's where your average person watching it, they don't even recognize that as like a
not a superhuman feat of strength.
Right. They just think, oh, she said she could do it for all these reps now.
And it's things like that I went into this with an open mind, and I'm just like, the examples you're using are so terrible here. And anyone that actually participates in exercising sport of any kind, you're going to see through this stuff. I'm looking at my list here. What else we have? It talks about Arnold. Arnold says it's the best he's ever felt. Well, I don't know, Arnold. Maybe you're not like running weird amounts of steroids and eating like shit. I don't know. I don't think people like they're comparing Arnold in what, the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, when Arnold was at his peak physically. So what, late 60s, entire to the 70s.
Right.
Off and on through the 80s maybe. Also, the nutrition game was very different then than it is now.
Right.
We know a lot less. So again, that's not a good example to use because Arnold wasn't the expert for dietary advice. Arnold could tell you how to be a bodybuilder and, you know, the amount of testosterone that he was taking. But even he admitted at that time they didn't know what they were doing. He says in his biography, it was just kind of something we all did and we didn't know much about it.
And also, Arnold is a businessman. I'm not saying that he's lying or anything like that, but probably says what he wants to at this point in time to improve himself in financially. Like, he has stake in this. He's one of
the producers.
Yeah.
So he has a financial gain by it. They also feature a football player, and it's another one of those where I don't buy the argument that they're using is that he's I don't even remember his name now. Plays for the Tennessee Titans.
So then everyone on the team's coming over to eat with him because he's doing so good.
13 guys on the team go to a plant-based diet, and they make the playoffs for the first time in like 10 years. And I'm thinking, you know how many people, you're from England, you probably don't understand American football. You know how many people are on a football team? What is an actual, is the official roster 60 some?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
So there's that many people. There's how many coaches?
Yeah.
There's how many, like a football team is 100+ people by the time it's all said and done.
Yes.
You think that the thing that made you get to the playoffs that year was because 13 guys got on a plant-based diet? I think that's a little self-centered to think that. Like, your team could literally not change year to year, and the other teams could just be worse.
Yeah.
They had people retire, they lost picks, they got guys traded. You could be the exact same team, do the exact same thing, and you could make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that is a terrible way to gauge the success of something.
And just like you said about fighting and stuff, like football, it's such a skill and genetic component to how good you're at it that, like, even if you're feeling better because of your diet, you're still like not changing your genetics, and you're training for the last 25 years that have created how good you are or are not as a football player. Like, I could go get on the healthiest diet in the world, like far healthier than every other player in the NFL, but it's not gonna make me very much better at football.
And there's just too many moving pieces. You know what can be the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs? Your kicker making one more field goal. Your running back having one less fumble that the other team picks up and runs back. It's one football game could absolutely be the difference between making the playoffs and not making them. So in something that big, don't pin it on 13. And then the guy is like, oh, I thought that vegan diets would just taste terrible. His wife is a professional chef.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be like, you have every resource in the world. I have no doubt that if I had a professional chef cooking me vegan meals all day, I'm sure I would love them. That also probably costs, between the food and a professional chef preparing them, that probably costs a normal person several $100s a day to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm just watching her bring out like tray after tray after tray of vegan food.
Yeah.
And thinking, sure, it probably tastes great, but you have unlimited resources and a professional chef wife.
Yep.
So, okay, sure.
Yes.
And the other argument that people like to say, one guy goes on the record saying that, I looked at what gorillas eat. Gorillas eat bananas. That's the dumbest argument for anything.
That goes back to like what people.
Gorillas are also
eat,
crazy strong. I've never seen a gorilla lift weights before in the gym. Have you? So Tanner's changing Are you changing the battery, Tanner?
I'm gonna try this one.
So we've been talking for so long. Damn, we have another long one here. Tanner's gonna try and change the battery. So if people are watching on YouTube, they can keep getting this. But yeah, I that is one of the dumbest arguments that I ever hear people make about the gym stuff, is that because another animal eats something or another animal does something, that works for a human being. This guy, I think he was like a Marine or something?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I just noticed when I was changing that battery, it should be back going now, that as soon as I take my headphones off and step away, it feels immediately like instead of me being in the conversation, I'm just listening to the. I was like, oh,
it does have a weird effect, yeah.
But now I'm back in it.
Now you're back, yeah. Horses run really fast. Does that mean I should eat a shit ton of grass every day? Those arguments don't make any sense, because, believe it or not, biology is way more complex than what one creature eats.
Yes.
My dog's pretty strong. He eats dog food. Should I eat dog food? I think we're leaving something out. So this whole time, Tanner, we've talked almost nothing about the data. We're just talking about the observations,
right? Because,
and the way they're framing arguments.
And we're not experts on the science, but we're just looking at
one of my complaints about the data, though.
Yep.
Is that they almost exclusively use percentages. Now, a percentage. Something could have a result of 0.001, and something could be a 300% increase, and it's now 0.003. Mm-hmm. Still negligible.
Yeah, still
as far as mathematics go. It looks much bigger, but you don't know any of these things. We don't know, because it's all percentage. This thing was a 20% increase. This was a 300% increase. This was a 100% increase. I don't know what it's an increase of. It's percent increases. And that's, I don't even want to bother looking into that. But to me, when you're always using percentages, it's probably because the absolute values are insignificant and they don't look good on paper. So you're going to use the figure that makes things look better.
Yep.
Which is how people like to frame arguments. And we have probably left out, Tanner, the maybe one of the most interesting parts of the documentary. And that was the penis study.
Yeah, yes.
So they get the guy who literally wrote the book on penises because he wrote a book about penises. Yeah. And they get these three guys, and they put it's like a loop. What was one around? Was one around like your balls and one around the shaft?
Something like
it was both around the shaft on different parts of the shaft. And you go to sleep, and this thing measures how many boners you get while you're sleeping.
Yes.
And so they measure these guys, how many
the
boners.
Intensity of
Yeah,
the boners.
the intensity and the duration and the how often you're getting boners. So they do it just one night, and then again
After eating a plant-based diet.
after eating a plant-based diet for a day, and check their boners. And it's one of those things where the guys all had like between 150 and 300% increase in
boners.
boner. Was it like times they had boners?
But I think it was like both. They measured like two different things. It was like strength of the boner, and like how many boners.
So these guys all got like more boners while they were sleeping. They're all laughing about it a lot, and they're all like college age guys.
Yeah,
so the
so
whole
it's
thing
like,
was so funny to them.
boners.
But when it was all said and done, the doctor goes, "Now this was in no way scientific." It's like, so what did we just do there then?
Right.
You just talked about all this stuff, and then when it was all done, you go, and by the way, this wasn't a scientific study at all.
Right.
It was just purely anecdotal. Like, we just put this thing on these guys' cocks and just saw how long they could get boners for, and tricked them into being on camera.
What a weird study to be a part of and sleeping like
but
that.
also, they don't make it super clear. Is getting a bunch of boners while you're sleeping, is that good? Like, so if that's the argument, should you strive to have 8 hours, a continuous 8-hour boner while you're sleeping?
That's when you're supposed to call your doctor.
After 8 hours, right? No, the joke is you call a hooker at that point, Tanner. But no, it's so I that one was just very unclear. It was kind of like, hey guys.
Well, it was just silly. I mean,
Yeah, it was like a really silly thing.
Yeah.
So like the documentary again was trying to be like, we're very serious about performance and all this stuff, and then they like slip in this boner
anecdotal
thing
boner
that was
study
kind of
on
a
three
joke
guys.
that
Yeah.
also they got done and they said this isn't actually scientific, but
Right.
maybe there's something here.
Maybe.
I'm looking to see if there's anything left here. That's about all I had for notes, Tanner.
Okay. So what about general thoughts of your...
Oh, one thing, they said Carl Lewis was on a plant-based diet when he was setting all his records. Yeah. Didn't Carl Lewis actually technically fail steroids tests, but through some loophole
he's on Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
Yeah, because he failed his tests. Isn't that fairly well documented that he did test positive, but through some crazy loophole, and of course he's always going to admit that he was innocent, or he's always going to say that he's innocent, but also through some weird loophole, like he's managed to keep his records.
And there again, the steroids are going to significantly outweigh whether he's on a pretty healthy rounded diet or a pretty healthy vegan plant-based diet.
That is the X factor in these guys.
Yes.
Who's juiced and who's not.
Because Carl Lewis obviously genetically was talented at running fast.
Yeah.
Then if he potentially also took steroids and it made him run even faster, which version of a healthy diet he was on, I don't believe that was assuming like you take two different versions of healthy diets, one vegan plant-based and one that includes meat, but still healthy. That's kind of where I come to of the whole thing of the show is I'm not even going to argue that vegan plant-based is not healthier. Like, I believe there some things they say and stuff like, I'm like, yeah, that probably could be true. I don't know. I'm not going to research enough to fully understand it, but I'm not going to argue against it because it very well could be healthier. But when you look at just purely performance, I'm not no more convinced after watching that vegan plant-based diets or whole food plant-based diets are optimal for performance, and especially not for sports that require high levels of strength.
Yes. And as far as convincing me, they put some things in there that were just flat out wrong or framed in ways that they should have never been presented to people, which made me distrust the thing from almost the get-go.
Yes.
Like this lady is not doing actual 525-pound leg presses for 10 reps for 8 sets or whatever it is because she's on a plant-based diet. Also, your bench press is not increasing by 20% because 19% because you drank beet juice.
Yeah.
Like, those things are dumb. Get those out of the documentary. All they're doing is hurting the cause.
Yeah.
And that's what, So I guess in review, I don't have a problem with plant-based diets. I think for most people, they would be healthier eating a plant-based diet.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're cutting all the shit.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like the wonder cure-all this guy frames it as.
Right.
He was also, they had him on the Joe Rogan podcast to
I
debate.
heard that was good.
To debate another guy about it
Yeah.
for, I think it was like 3.5 hours they talked. I made it about 30 minutes in. I couldn't do it anymore because the guy was so annoying.
This guy. Yeah.
Everything he would say, the guy would start to talk, and the other guy was very low key mellow.
Yeah.
He was like, nope, play, and he would just like, it was steamrolling. Like he wouldn't let the other guy talk. It's like, what is? He would just no, you're wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong.
The creator of the
the Wilkes, whoever he is.
And I don't know if this is fact, but it's something I saw, and if this is true, this is also makes me more skeptical. Is that he owns a plant-based supplement company.
That one surprised me
right?
because at the end of the video, at the end of the documentary, it said for nutrition tips, plans, and like more information. Check out GameChangers.com, and that's when I thought, oh, that website definitely isn't just a resource to go see other people's websites. It's a resource to go to buy his stuff. Yeah. Just like how Stan Efferding magically produced all types of videos around nutrition when he had a nutrition plan to sell.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
That's part of marketing.
Yep.
But maybe this whole thing is just part of him.
Really good marketing because everyone's talking about it. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I read it was the #1 selling documentary of all time on iTunes, I think.
Okay. I think I've heard stuff like that too.
So it's blowing up. He's getting a ton of publicity. Why would he want to die on this cause so hard? Is it because he has financial gains in it?
Because he's getting rich?
Or is it just because he purely just wants to see the average person on a plant-based diet and produce cookbooks and do all types of stuff for free? I don't think that's what it is. I think it's because he has something to gain monetarily.
And like you said, not that there's anything, I don't think that there's anything wrong with trying to gain monetarily.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But it's just how genuine is your approach with all this.
Yep.
So with all those, we kind of covered the whole movie for you. Really, it's
spoiler alert.
Wow, we've been talking for a long time. I didn't think we'd actually talk about it that long, but if you're really interested, I guess you could still watch it. Otherwise, we pretty much covered everything else.
Yeah.
And that's the Game Changers.
All right. Well, we don't have much time left, do we?
We don't.
Are we going to do overrated, underrated?
We can if you want.
Okay, we could do it quick.
We could do it quick. We'll do a quick one.
Okay. First, we have to very quickly review last week's. Mad Libs, you said overrated. The people said 67% underrated. They said they went against you.
I didn't know much about Mad Libs, so
I do think it is more towards kids too.
Yeah,
the more we talk,
that would make sense.
Foam rolling. What did you say?
I think I said overrated.
And the people said 63% overrated. So agrees. Shower beers.
I think I said overrated also because it can wait 30 seconds.
80% underrated.
Wow.
I think people like the idea of shower beers.
The idea until you execute on it, and it's like, oh, this wasn't as good as I thought it would be.
Star Wars, you said underrated, I think. 50-50.
Was it really?
Toss up, coin toss.
That's our first ever, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Coin toss on the Star Wars.
I actually never thought we would get a real 50-50.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I suppose I think a lot of people like Star Wars, but it's rated pretty. It's a big deal, so maybe
it's also probably one of the highest rated sci-fi type series. So I could understand the overrated argument.
Right. Okay, so this week's topics. Topic number 1, something we kind of touched on last week, but I thought it could just be its own topic even. Cards Against Humanity, or Apples to Apples, or insert that game where you do that thing.
So when that first came out, the novelty factor was very real. It was, this is new, this is exciting, this is different, I haven't played anything like this before. It was crude, rude, and a fun party game. And it was great. And everyone ate it up. Now, I don't do those. I don't do it. I don't do it. You know why? Because when I go to a party, I want to talk to people and have fun and do stuff. I don't want everyone to have to be stuck sitting around a table, focusing, paying attention to the rules, talking when it's their turn to talk, having the music turned down so that we can hear what's going on. I want to do that at a party.
Yep.
I just want to do my thing, have fun, see what happens. And Cards Against Humanity doesn't let that happen. Plus, it's just way overplayed. It's played out. Cards Against Humanity, overrated.
Overrated. Underrated or overrated, Jason Momoa.
My only real experience with Jason Momoa is Game of Thrones season 1. I don't.
Khal
Aquaman.
Drago.
Aquaman. I heard it sucked bad.
It sucks.
I'm not going to watch it to find out because I'm going to believe enough people said that it was bad that I don't need to waste my time. What else has he done besides that?
Frontier, I think, is a Netflix show.
Is it?
Yeah, I think he's like the fur trade. He's like a fur trader guy, kind of a big, kind of like what he's always, he's like a big, scary.
I also feel like he kind of plays a stereotype.
He's a typecast,
which you're going to be when you look like that and have that. But I'm going to say overrated.
Okay, overrated on Jason.
Just because I haven't seen Frontier yet.
It's probably the best thing. Well, I mean, Game of Thrones is
better,
but like he's not that big of a part in Game of Thrones. But the only thing, the thing I like about Jason Momoa is he's an actor that's big. Mm-hmm. Actually, not that jacked.
No,
but like
he's just
like
in
a lot
shape.
of times. Yeah, a lot of times like the most popular actors they're all like small. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, it's just a big guy that's kind of. He's not like he doesn't have a 6-pack, and he's like pretty.
But yeah, there's like not a whole there's not a whole lot of like manly man actors anymore.
Right,
you have The Rock, and The Rock is
but he's like unrealistically jacked.
Yeah,
where it's like I'm
trying to think of who even else like action stars like that. That's typically who did that. And like Vin Diesel isn't a person anymore. He's not a thing.
Not a good
and
one.
He was never jacked either.
Right.
Liam Neeson was never jacked. He was an action star. Sylvester Stallone was jacked, but he was small.
Yeah.
He kind of fits that part. I'm still gonna say
underrated.
Oh, I'm gonna say overrated.
Overrated.
For now still.
Overrated. Okay, overrated or underrated? TikTok.
Right now,
confession, I have absolutely no idea what it is, other than it's a social media thing that people are using.
You probably have seen videos of it popping up, though, right?
I don't know if I know people are talking about it, but I'm not sure what it is.
I think at this point right now, well, I do think TikTok is a little overhyped a little bit. There's also the whole thing of it being basically ran by the Chinese government, which is, depending on how you feel about human rights and privacy and all of that, there's a lot to think about there.
What is the format of it, though? Like, it's a social media thing, right? Like I'm just thinking, how is it to Instagram? Like, is it like Instagram? Do you get on there and post something on?
Yeah, I guess I haven't actually used it.
Yeah.
But the way I understand, just because I didn't want to set up an account.
Yeah.
But the way I understand it is, it's just like everything. You have a feed, you follow people, and then
it's videos.
Yeah, for the most part, like the way I see is people like overdubbing stuff. It lets you like overdub. Like you can play music, and it dubs over it, and you reenact the music or the scenes or whatever it is. I've seen. Do you remember like Vine? Back in the day. I've seen a lot of people like more recently where I've been entertained is like using it as more of a Vine format where they're just kind of like doing funny little skits with it. And I like that. But it's one of the biggest social media networks right now. It's blowing up huge, especially with like younger demographics. Part of me wants to say it's overrated. I've heard from a business standpoint right now, there's almost no business tools in place. So if you have a business on it, other than getting like exposure,
so there's no need for a Massenomics TikTok yet?
I don't think there is yet. I don't know. I think I'm probably going to sound like an old guy when I say this, and you could probably play this in like a year or two, and it's going to be like, whoa, what a loser.
Yeah.
But I do think TikTok is a little overrated. Okay. I think it is a little overrated. I'm not just going to say it's overrated flat out, but I do think it is a little overrated.
Okay.
If for nothing else than the Chinese factor, man. Come on.
I didn't know that, so that's don't like that. Last topic for today, overrated or underrated? Saturday Night Live, SNL. Like
in its entirety or right now, this season currently? Because there's a lot of ways to slice this one.
When I said it, I was thinking more about this season, but I guess we'll just say in general. Or not even just this season, but like kind of this cast.
But it's like a lot of stuff you're judged by your last performance.
Yeah.
And so when people say,
that's
SNL
why
good?
I'm more thinking of,
I don't really keep up with SNL anymore. And I think SNL is one of those things where people always think their generation is the best. Mm-hmm. A lot of like music, a lot of times people the music they listened to when they were between the ages of like 17 and 25 was the best music ever. Mm-hmm. Same thing I think with SNL. A lot of people think like the SNL that I watched from the time I was 14 to 20.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, then I was first starting to stay up late. And when starting to be in college with
Will
my buddies.
Ferrell,
yeah, and that's like for me, that age was kind of at first as a kid, like watching it was like Will Ferrell would be on, and you could kind of catch. I think we caught maybe the end of Mike Myers, but definitely like Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
But that was like little, and to me it was just like, oh, these are just weird people doing weird stuff, and it was totally funny. And you definitely didn't get a lot of the jokes.
Right.
But then we, in our college age, that's like when Andy Samberg and the whole Lonely Island thing came.
Yeah. Jimmy Fallon.
I mean, they had a lot going on then. Just if anything, if you even just said Lonely Island with just the jizzed in my pants and I just had sex, those things were huge. Like that was the first time that people were doing like really crazy like parody videos with awesome production value and like making actual songs out of it. And I personally don't think Saturday Night Live is as relevant socially now as it was 10 years ago. Maybe even 5 years ago, but for sure 10 years ago. I don't hear people talking about it much anymore. Like I don't think their skits go viral like they used to either. Where things used to blow up. I do like Saturday Night Live, but I also think as a comedy thing that they just I think I've said this before. Like the easiest thing is, let's make jokes about politics and Donald Trump.
It is so political.
And I'm like, well, maybe just try to be funny and have a different. That's the angle everyone takes, regardless of how you feel about Trump. I just want to see a different joke. I want to like that's where at least some comedians make jokes about other things.
It is so political. I've watched mostly all of this season, and it's just so much about politics. I learn more from politics from Saturday Night Live than I do anything else because I avoid it.
There's
for the most part.
politicians doing a lot of weird shit right now that they need to be called out in some way because the stuff they're doing is insane, and it is a joke. Some of the stuff these people say too, it is an absolute joke that like that is actually what
politics is right now.
A real adult with an actual brain did that and said that. What? Yeah. And you can say that about both sides.
Right.
It's just like, oh, that's how actual adults work nowadays. That's how actual baby boomers act in this day and age. I don't know. I think it's a little overrated. I don't think it has the shine it used to.
Yeah.
That's not to say they couldn't get it back, but I don't think it's there right now.
My notes on Saturday Night Live is Weekend Update has always been and is my favorite part of the show by far. Colin Jost and Michael Che are the ones that do it now, and they're both good.
Yeah, I think they're funny.
They're funny, and Kate McKinnon is by far the best person on the show right now.
What one is she?
She's I don't know. She's kind of a blonde. Like in the thing at the beginning, she has blonde hair. She plays like every person in every skit for the whole show, so she always has different colored hair. But she does like Nancy Pelosi and like all these different women politicians. Oh, she does the guy that used to be the mayor of New York.
Oh yeah, she's the one that gets like abducted by aliens. And that
yeah.
Okay.
She is the best one on the show.
By far. Yeah, she's very talented.
Yeah, she's good. She's really good. There's some people on the show that are really bad. Where I'm like,
when she does Justin Bieber, her Bieber is really funny too.
Yeah, she's really funny. I mean, like almost everything she makes most of the skits. There's not that many that she's not in. But there's some people that are really bad. I do not find Kenan Thompson good.
He's just been on there for so long.
I do not find
I've
him
heard people
good.
say that he's being groomed to take Lorne Michaels' place.
Okay.
As the producer and the runner of it all.
Who's the guy, the crazy guy that used to date whoever you want to pick?
Pete Davidson.
He also... As far as skits go, he's terrible.
He's kind of a wild cannon because you never know what you're like. He could be funny, but he could also just do like almost nothing, which he does sometimes.
But he does add some things to the show that are pretty funny because he is just so off the wall.
Yeah.
But what was your final answer?
I said overrated.
Okay,
I think
overrated
it's overrated
on
right
SNL. Okay, so that wraps up overrated, underrated. We probably got to wrap up the show. Did we break a new PR or not?
Tanner, we are at an hour and 37 minutes.
We shattered a new PR.
Also, it is 10:42 at night, and it's way too late.
Yes.
Way too late.
We do have to end then.
I got work.
So I won't even tell you that much about all our good
work
stuff.
I got to do tomorrow, man.
We won't tell you all that much about all the stuff you need to buy, but just make sure to buy it. Tommy's wearing a couple good items right there. Bench and 315 shirt and
joggers,
Massenomics joggers with the stencil logo.
Don't forget to get entered in the Jefferson Deadlift competition.
Yep. All that. And quick, we'll hear from our sponsors again. Lifting Large. Lifting Large is your one-stop online shop for powerlifters. Strongmen Highland Games athletes, CrossFit athletes, and anyone that lifts iron. Visit liftinglarge.com today. There's free shipping on any orders over $60, and 99% of the orders are shipped the same day that they are placed. Spud Inc. The goal of Spud Inc. straps is to make products that support sports performance and help everyone achieve their training goals. They make products that last forever, won't bust your budget, and most importantly, leave no doubt about success when everything is on the line. Check them out online at spud-inc-straps.com. Hybrid Performance Method. They're your one-stop shop for all things fitness and online coaching. Whether your goals are training-related, nutrition and body composition-related, or both, Hybrid has a program for you. With dedicated and experienced coaches in each strength and fitness discipline, you can rest assured that you're in the best hands possible. Use code MASS in all caps for 5% off any training or nutrition memberships for the life of your membership. Visit hybridperformancemethod.com. Those are our sponsors. Thanks for following along. That'll do us for this one. We'll catch you for next one.
Yep.
What do you got on Instagram, Tom?
At Tomahawk_D.
And you can follow the official Massenomics page at Massenomics.
See you later.